The Telecaster is the first successfully mass-produced solid-body electric guitar. Though often linked to country music, it's one of the most versatile instruments ever made. Originally sold as the Broadcaster in 1950, it's been released in many variations throughout its run, though even in modern versions, it's still very faithful to Leo Fender's original design. To help celebrate the incredibly varied use of this instrument, I want to talk about distinctly non-country players who chose the Tele as either their primary or one of their primary guitars throughout their careers. First up is Graham Coxon from Blur. Graham Coxon is one of the most interesting players to pick up the electric guitar. His sensibilities and his ability to complement a song sets him apart from so many of his counterparts in the British music scene of the 1990s. Though Graham Coxon has an extensive guitar collection and plays many different types on tour, he's most commonly associated with the Telecaster. Graham has described the Telecaster's creak, clarity, and twang as the qualities that make them unlike any other guitar. He said that he's drawn to the scathing trebly sound, which you can achieve in the bridge pickup, or the creamy Beatles-esque sound via the neck pickup. Graham has played many different types of Telecasters over the years, and they're often modified with a P90 or humbucker in the neck. His first experience with a Tele was while recording Blur's debut album Leisure, possibly on There's No Other Way, with longtime Blur producer Stephen Street, who had a vintage Telecaster at a recording session. You can see live performances where Graham plays several different types of Teles, including customs, deluxes, and vintage butterscotch blondes. He often picks up his thin line Tele around his house when he wants to play. Key songs to check out if you want to explore more of Graham's playing: There's No Other Way, Oily Water, Beetle Bum, Coffee and TV, and No Distance Left to Run. Next on the list is Frank Black, aka Black Francis of the Pixies. It's hard to think of a more influential rock band than the Pixies, whose stripped-down, loud, quiet, loud approach has influenced Nirvana, Radiohead, Pavement, The Strokes, and Arcade Fire, among many, many others. Though Frank sometimes plays acoustic with the Pixies, some of the band's most iconic songs feature Black playing his Telecaster. Though his rig has many different types of guitars, Frank Black spoke at length in an interview with Guitar.com about his love for the Tele. His first was a Japanese-made Fender Contemporary Telecaster, which he described as a heavy metal guitar. He said, "I learned over time that the Telecaster has a short sustain and it's bright, so it was very suitable for rhythm guitar for me." He goes on to say, "Then you start to notice, whether it's Bruce Springsteen or television, whoever picks up a Telecaster, you notice that it has value in its limitation. It leaves open some space for the guy who's got the pedals and is playing the solos." A few quintessential Frank Black Pixie songs include Debaser, Gouge Away, and Bone Machine. Next up is Joe Strummer from The Clash. One of the most important frontmen in the history of popular music, Joe Strummer bought his iconic 1966 Fender Telecaster back in 1975 for £100. Supposedly, the guitar originally had a sunburst finish and Strummer painted it black. Over time, the paint flaked away and the guitar was adorned with stickers. Joe played the guitar throughout the rest of his career, and Fender eventually released a limited edition master-built Joe Strummer Telecaster. Like Frank Black, Strummer was his band's rhythm player. Joe was a lefty who played right-handed. Though he didn't like playing what he called the fiddly bits, he was an underrated rhythm player. A few defining Strummer guitar songs include London Calling, Spanish Bombs, Police and Thieves, and Janie Jones. Next up is D. Boon from the Minutemen. San Pedro, California's D. Boon is my favorite guitar player in the history of punk music. While many of his fellow punk guitarists sought thick, distorted tones, D. Boon relied on thin, biting, clean sounds to complement bassist Mike Watt's low end. The Telecaster was the perfect tool to fit his approach. He often played clean through a twin reverb, with the treble cranked up and everything else turned all the way down. Dee originally started playing a Frankenstein Strat and a Gibson Melody Maker until Mike Watt eventually bought him a Tele since he'd always wanted one, and D. Boon played mostly Telecasters from then on. Boon played a few different Telecasters in his tragically short career, including a standard, a custom, and a deluxe Telecaster. You can get a feel for D. Boon's style by listening to I Felt Like a Gringo, Vietnam, Anchor, and Political Song for Michael Jackson to sing. Yes, that's the name of the song. Then we have Tom Morello, Rage Against the Machine. Tom Morello's innovative guitar sounds fueled Rage Against the Machine's impressive run of albums in the 1990s. Paired with a small assortment of pedals, Morello proved that Tellies offered more than just a trebly twang. Morello used a 1982 Fender Telecaster, which he nicknamed Sendero Luminoso, for songs he played in drop D throughout his career, not just with Rage, but also with Audio Slave, Street Sweeper, and Night Watchman. This black maple neck made in the US Telly had a white pickguard, 2 original single coil pickups, and a 6-saddle bridge. 3 notable songs Tom Morello used his Sendero Luminoso guitar on include Killin' in the Name, Freedom, and Testify. Last, but certainly not least, is Jonny Greenwood of Radiohead. Jonny Greenwood is one of the most singular, distinctive guitarists in the history of rock music. At times visceral, at times cerebral, Greenwood's parts are always unique and unexpected. Unlike so many of his peers, Jonny reads and studies music. He's equally comfortable playing punk and classical music, and has composed scores for several films, including many by Paul Thomas Anderson. In Radiohead, Jonny is most closely associated with his Telecaster Plus, though he's had as many as 5 Telecasters over the course of his career. In some cases, the guitars are modified, with those mods including a kill switch and lace sensor pickups. Greenwood is notoriously not a gear geek, having stated that guitars are like typewriters. It's technology. It's not something to be admired or worshipped. He compares them to washing machines and says, it does the job. You start seeing people putting them as walls, as decorations, and it's like putting a vacuum cleaner there. That's really bizarre for me. Considering the fact that Telecasters are inherently utilitarian in nature, with no frills and little adornment, it makes sense that Greenwood would gravitate towards Tellies. You can hear some stellar examples of Greenwood's playing on Radiohead songs My Iron Lung, Lucky, Airbag, Body Snatchers, and Jigsaw falling into place. Every guitarist on this list was to some extent a pioneer in the music world, and one of their primary weapons was the Telecaster. The Telly is so much more than a twangy, bright country guitar. It's a blank canvas that artists can use to create their own unique sound. And there are so many other guitarists who could have easily been placed on this list. Who else should I have included? Who are your favorite Telecaster players? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please give us a like, subscribe to the channel, or follow us wherever you get your podcasts.